All right. Hello, everybody in Facebook land. This is AFDEC, the Star Trek Lower Decks after show. And we are talking about the season finale of Lower Decks Season 1. And we have some amazing guests with us, one of who is not here yet, but will be here in 10 minutes. So, Vandy Beth, how are you tonight?
I am all right. I took a road trip today to Dallas to take some. Wait, why are you already laughing?
Because you said I'm all right, and I thought sure you were going to say danger zone.
I don't think in non sequiturs, Alan. Sure. Obviously, that's not what you think of me. But anyway, I took a road trip today to Dallas, and I took some photographs of some of the exterior shots used in the show Stargirl, which was a lot of fun. I should hasten to add Dallas, Georgia, not Dallas, Texas.
Thank you for the clarification, because I thought that was a hell of a road trip.
Really?
To already be back.
No, Dallas, Georgia stands in for Blue Valley, Nebraska on Stargirl, which is a very fine show on. I guess it'll be on the CW next year. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. Lizbeth, how are you?
I'm fine. My daughter actually read for a role in Stargirl. She did not get it, but she did read for it. So.
Oh, that's neat. So
which role?
You can look
I don't remember. It was like last year when she went through the roll call for it.
When you see Vandy Beth's photos, you can show her and say, this is the locations you would have been on.
Would have been had you gotten the role.
And we have two folks joining us for the first time. Nathan Skreslet, how are you, buddy?
Doing great. Glad to be here.
Good to see you. And Lee Gao, how are you?
I'm good. I'm excited.
Awesome. All right, so let's get rolling, because
this wasn't Skreslet one of the characters in the Dark Crystal?
No.
Okay. It's for sure sounds like it though. Yeah.
Close, but no. All right, so we have the season finale of our first season of Lower Decks, called No Small Parts. And it was a hell of an episode.
Yes.
Holy cow, what an episode.
Right. All right, so let's jump into it. We've got I love this episode because it was an episode that actually had some consequence to it. We're going to talk about that a little bit more, but let's just go around and just tell me your initial impressions of tonight's episode. What'd you think of it?
I mean, I guess I can start it. I thought it was excellent. Yeah, it felt like a real payoff for like all the buildup throughout of the characters throughout the season. Everybody got to do stuff. It was all consistent with their character developments, and we had some major breakthroughs on some of them. Of course, all the callbacks are great.
And there were a lot of them.
So many, like several per minute, it seemed like.
Yeah.
And we also got to find out what happens when you go to warp with something hanging onto your engine.
Yeah. So Lee, Elizabeth, what'd you think?
I thought it was amazing. I mean, it was of all the episodes, it was the one to me that had the best drama and I mean, you almost wouldn't say comedy. It had comedic elements.
Yeah.
But it was definitely a hardcore drama. And the thing that surprised me the most about it was, though, that I was thinking we would get farther into the episode before we got that payoff that we were waiting for at the end of last week. And actually, we got the payoff in the open. And I was like, well, now what are they going to do the rest of the episode? And boy, did I find out.
You asked the right question.
Yeah, I thought it was definitely the most Star Trek of the of the whole thing, because like from the beginning it was very Star Trek meets sort of Rick and Morty in style, and this one definitely felt like a realized episodic, just in cartoon form and with characters who are generally comedic. So I thought it was actually very well done, and I'm always a big fan of fan service. Essentially, I love all the callbacks, but they were also very good about bringing back storylines from previous episodes, right? Like you saw the certificate with the Boimler effect on it at the end, and it was just like, there it is. It showed up again. So it was good that they were consistent, which I think has always been one of the stronger points of the Star Trek in general, is they tried to be very good about canon within itself, within the universe.
Right.
Yeah. VB.
Yeah, I think this was the strongest episode yet, fittingly, I suppose, since it's the season finale. And I think it hit hard with both the comedy and the drama, and with the callbacks and allusions to other series. Again, I think they hit that a little harder than they need to, than they ought to. But this was a lot of fun, and I'm embarrassed to admit this, but this week is the first time I realized that class of ship is all named after cities in California. And I didn't realize that. That didn't hit me until they showed the USS Solvang, which is a small town in Southern California, which is kind of a novelty town, like Helen, Georgia. It's made to look like a little alpine village, which is fun. But also Solvang. Just the name Solvang sounds like it could be an alien species in a science fiction show.
Yeah, for some reason you'd think it was a Vulcan name for a ship. I don't know why, but it seemed to hit like the Vulcan line.
Had they named the ship class prior to that? Because I couldn't remember if they had done that.
I don't know if they had prior to this episode, but in this episode they did refer to it as the Cal class.
Yes.
California.
Riker called it that.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
And like most Star Trek season finales, they had to destroy at least one ship.
Oh, yeah.
But I even appreciate the callback where they're like, no, I want it to look the same. I hate it when they redo the ship and I was like, yep, just like how many enterprises did we go through? And they always look vastly different from each other.
Yeah, I love that. In the cold open, we got to me a big surprise callback to the original series. To the episode,
the animated one.
What's that?
It was the animated one at that too.
And I wanted to, well, no, it was from the original series.
Yeah.
When they showed, what I loved was when they showed Kirk and Spock on the pad. It was a Filmation version of them, not like a Lower Decks version of them. I thought that was super clever.
Yeah.
Interesting.
They knew their audience.
Detail.
Yeah. Exactly. It's a great detail. All right, we have things coming in from Patrick Anderson, who tells us it is the California class. It is indeed.
Cool.
And TAS, which stands for
the
animated series.
The animated series.
Yes, exactly.
The animated scientists.
Exactly.
The old scientists.
And I love that
the old scientists.
TOS era is now canon.
Yeah.
Way to refer to that time period.
In a very meta way, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
R.L. Gray says, what's each of your pick for best reference?
Oh.
The what do they call it? The Horgon?
The Horgon.
The Horgon, yeah.
I made a list of all the references.
Oh, wow. I'm impressed.
Hearing the music from TNG.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
When Riker, it was like the whole thing, I was like screaming and I was, wait, what is that song? Oh my gosh, I know that song too. So it was just very much like, I didn't hear it initially until I kind of rewound it just a little bit. I was like, wait. I think, yep, there it is. The music.
That was a very dramatic moment for an animated series.
Yes,
I mean, it was like, yes, when he came through.
Yeah.
Well, this, I guess, was just a reference in human form, but the appearance of Riker and Troy was very welcome.
Yeah.
I just want to go on record. Way back at the beginning of the series, right when Lower Decks was starting, and the producers said, we're going to focus this show on new characters and we want to develop our new setting, but it's not an impossibility that, established characters will make an appearance. And I said Riker and Troy. Because they basically been in every
they're in every series.
I just love how you're going to go to.
I don't remember you saying that, Alan.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, maybe an episode you weren't
saying that. You definitely never said that.
That's not true. I have said it.
I'm going to want to go review the tapes.
You should.
I thought the cleverest callback, if we were still going down that list, was when Riker comes on the bridge and says, "I was just watching the the old Enterprise missions," like directly from the series finale. It's like, okay,
and
I gotta hand it to you on that. That was well done.
Quotes the lyrics from the theme
lyrics
song.
of the song. I know.
Yeah.
That was going to be my pick too. I thought that was so fun. Any more?
No, you know what's interesting?
The,
Nathan and I
the
were
Exocomp.
the
Yeah.
Exocomp.
I love seeing the Exocomp.
Yeah. So now it's a sentient crew member. That's amazing.
I love that they painted on the uniform.
Yes.
Me
And
too.
there was a tiny little hidden pip on it as well. Yeah.
Hello, Enterprise.
With Andy. How are you, buddy?
Doing well. How are you doing?
Fantastic.
Excellent.
To catch you up,
Yes.
this is the series finale, season finale for Lower Decks.
I hope not series finale.
Yeah,
Seriously.
definitely not
Yeah.
that. It's already been commissioned for a second season.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So, what were your favorite moments, Mr. Andy?
Oh my God. I mean, the freaking Packlids, the freaking like
Mhm.
quality of life bot, like peanut hamper, like wow, like just the level of like really deep cut TNG references throughout this entire thing, and it just the idea that the Packlids are stupid and they're a joke, but I love the fact that this is the show where the Packlids would be the big bad, not because they're sad, but because it turns out the one thing they have going for them is the ability to like put together a spaceship with 30 different weapons from different civilizations on it and just like actually cause damage. And it's like, this is no other series would do this and take it seriously. And I love the fact that they went there. So I think just the inclusion of the Packlids was great. And God, the Titan. The Titan.
Yeah.
Okay. So
The second question was, what's your pick for best reference?
I'll feed you to an Armus.
I know.
Yeah. So
Serious threat.
I love it.
yeah.
All right. So since you kind of mentioned it, Andy, the thing that I really loved about this episode is that it had some actual consequence. It had some actual drama to it, which is something that I've kind of been wanting for the whole season.
Yeah.
Right at the beginning, we're told that this is going to be a different kind of episode with the Sylvain getting completely destroyed and all hands lost. I mean, that was an amazing moment where they just hung on that one moment and just let it fade out. That was incredible.
Yeah.
We get major structural damage to the Cerritos. We got a funeral for a cast member, which later, and another cast member transfers ships at the end. I mean, this is an episode that's just packed with all kinds of great stuff happening. So, what are some of your favorite, like, dramatic moments from the episode?
I love that Shax finally got to kick some ass.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's been itching to do that this whole time, and nobody would let him.
Agreed.
And he goes out in a blaze of glory, and it's exactly what he would have wanted.
Yeah.
Sacrifice.
Yep.
Oh, you with the puns.
I need a pipe sometimes. Like
But you know what was sad to me was that, a couple of episodes back where they had that brief little moment where we realized that the doctor had the hots for Shax and you were wondering if that would develop. Well, they referenced that again when she was in the hallway. And then we thought, oh, well, maybe this will develop, but not to be. Unrequited love to the back.
I love the two of them, and I wish that that was like second under possibly saying he was just 1 week away from retirement or something. It was that level of like, no, I love the cat doctor and I love him. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, he tells Rutherford he's proud of him.
Yeah,
I was like, oh,
right.
Son.
That's got me there.
But I have a question about that. I mean, if the ship blew up and he was on it, what did they bury? And how did they retrieve his earring thing?
It blew off.
It flew off and they found it floating in space.
Yeah, or he had a spare in his room somewhere.
Probably so.
In his corner.
There you go.
He had dress and he had casual.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's something they made the lower decks crew do. It's like, can you guys go look for his earring?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be
Go
pretty
look for
nasty.
his
But
ear. See if the earring's still
we need
there.
something to, yeah.
Yeah. Just beam aboard as many bits as you can find.
Yeah. I did actually honestly appreciate that kind of Deep Space Nine reference callback where they say, you know, he's with the prophets now. And I went,
Yeah.
like it was just so beautiful, respectful of his, you know, Bajoran culture and his
Mhm.
beliefs. And it was just it was a very sweet scene.
Agreed. I loved it.
But I feel we're kind of robbed too of his backstory, because I would have loved to have gotten some more of his backstory
Absolutely.
in future episodes.
Yeah.
I mean, he's definitely part of the resistance. That's how we
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, I did appreciate, I mean, it was so sad to lose him, but I appreciate that they did at least have him say, this is the best day of my life.
Yes.
Mhm.
You know, so he at least died on what was his best day of his life. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, you just
Backstory-
made me.
Go
You
ahead.
just
Sorry.
made me wonder about something, because didn't they establish in The Next Generation that Ro was the first Bajoran in Starfleet?
That's possible.
Maybe.
And this is around that same time, but Shax was a lot older than Ro, which meant and of a higher rank, which meant he would have had to have been in before she was.
Mm.
Yeah.
He
that-
could
Dropped out of Starfleet though. Maybe they joined around
Point
the
to
same time.
ponder.
Yes. He may have gained promotion much faster. Maybe he did a lot more in security and moved up quicker.
It might have been sort of a Major Kira thing where, you know, for a while he still had the Bajoran rank and was sort of up there in the Bajoran military, but then sort of transferred over to Starfleet. And,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, that's possible. Yeah.
people had
point.
to answer to Kira even if they were Starfleet officers, so that kind of thing. Yeah.
True. Okay. I'm all
Good
right
point.
with it then.
Excellent. I'm glad we resolved that issue.
I withdraw my objection.
I love the prophet reference too. One thing that I feel like we've in Picard, in this show, in Discovery, we've gotten a lot of references to other shows, especially in this one, but not so much DS9.
Mhm.
There was that one scene earlier in the season that was set on DS9, but you didn't get any sense of the station or the, you know, officers or anything like that. So I'm really looking forward to seeing a little bit more. And I'll take this opportunity to say the big news that came out today, the new show, Star Trek Prodigy, we learned today is basically going to be a Captain Janeway show.
Nice.
Nice.
I'm very excited about that.
Is that what they said? They said she would be in it, but they didn't.
Well,
I didn't remember them indicating that it would be centered around her.
I don't know that it's centered around her, but they kind of made reference to her being the star of the show. So my guess is it's sort of academy based, and she's going to be like an academy professor or something like that. Maybe it's geared toward the younger audience,
right? And it will air on Nickelodeon instead of on CBS All Access.
Exactly.
Or Paramount Plus.
Yeah, exactly. So I do think that she'll have an every episode role. Just from the way that she talked about it, it sounded like that's how it was going to be.
And they're celebrating by actually taking Tommy Pickles and Chucky and combining them to one person, but then she kills them both. So that's a thing that happens. So that's tasty.
Well, Tommy is just the doctor. He's got Tommy's just the doctor.
Oh yeah.
All right, R.L. Gray would like to know, how do we feel about the big changes for Lower Decks with Boimler transferring Rutherford's implant, Mariner and Freeman cooperating? That's a big setup for season 2.
Yeah,
hell of a lot of
changes all the dynamics. Yeah,
totally.
Well, I think I have some thoughts. I think one, the thing about Mariner and Freeman getting along, that's just the sort of character evolution that you're going to have from season to season in any TV show. Right. So I don't think that's as big a deal as R.L. Gray is implying. And Rutherford, I think, is probably going to get a new implant. I think that's strongly implied by the fact that he has that bandage on his head. And we don't know why he needed the implant in the first place.
Exactly.
So we have no reason to assume that whatever reason that was still exists, and so he probably will need to get a new implant.
Yeah.
And as for Boimler being transferred, that's not going to last.
No, that's not
Definitely not.
At the beginning of second season, he's going to be back on the Cerritos, and he's going to make an offhand comment trying to downplay whatever he
Whatever he got
did
busted for.
to royally piss off Riker and get him transferred back to the Cerritos. So, yeah, I'm 90% sure that one's not going to last at all.
And now that Mariner's in her mother's good graces, I think that he's going to clearly wind up just being just tortured by just about everybody. I think for the whole season for his duplicity. I totally agree.
I love it, though, that him, the first scene we see of him on the Titan is basically a mirror of what we saw of Mariner at the beginning of Lower Decks, where she's the one who's been around the block. She's the one who has had all the experiences, and the other junior officers are like in awe of all the things that she's done. And now he's in that role with the younger officers on the Titan. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
A neat turn. All right.
I think it's a very natural. I think it's a good place to do the season finale, because to do that major of a shift, it does. Not only is it kind of natural to what happens with relationships in general, especially people who are in armed services. They know, like, people go into separate places, they get transferred to different locations. But I think it also keeps the interest as well. So it definitely gets the buy-in from the audience to want to continue watching the series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep, definitely. Plus, they also told us that they're going to explain at some point why he has purple hair. So we at least will get that little amount of character development.
I just assumed he had it because he wanted it.
Yeah.
You would assume.
I mean, I dyed my hair blue during this quarantine. Maybe there was something like that,
Exactly.
Everyone's experimenting.
Well,
I'm 41.
No, it's just like the explanation for why Klingons look different in the Next Generation as opposed to
you're like,
We
original
don't
series.
talk about that. We don't talk about that.
Outsiders. Yeah.
The
We
makeup
don't talk about that
technology.
with outsiders, is what I think the
Yes.
was said.
The original series didn't have the budget
Right.
to make the Klingons look the way Roddenberry always wanted them to look. And by the same token, until we got a new animated series, the technology just wasn't there to show a character with purple hair.
Yeah.
We never saw it because we couldn't see it.
No.
But by the 24th century, some people will naturally have purple hair because of an augment virus or something like that.
Definitely.
It is telling that we never saw anyone on the original animated series with purple hair. So you have a picture there.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah. You of the analytical mind. Right. So now that we're at our season finale, what do you think about Lower Decks as a whole? What's your impression of the overall? There's not really a story arc, but we get a little bit of a carry through and some development of characters. So what are your thoughts about how this season has gone?
It was funny.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's progressed well. I mean, I think that the last few episodes were definitely more engaging and really more serious. I'm referencing back to that scene when you hear the TNG theme and the Titan roars out. I mean, it was like a yes, throw your hands up in the air moment. And then I thought, wait a minute, this is an animated series, and I'm like, and I'm acting like I was in the movie.
Yeah,
absolutely. I did that last week and this week. Last week with the big Lower Decks movie that created, it definitely had that more cinematic feel, and I
can tell that their art department studied those films, to capture all of the visual tropes, and then just absolutely nailed all of them. I like that they carried into this episode too, when they had, all the Titan crew still have their TNG movie uniforms. The bridge is still designed, with the low lighting and the, burgundy and leather kind of stuff. It's like, wow, you guys really know your stuff.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
And
this is the guy that impressed me too.
And Boimler did a fan dance from Star Trek V.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Wonderful.
No, yeah, that was a great episode.
He
This one,
naked, so it doesn't count.
yeah. He wasn't naked, so it doesn't count.
And I'd like to welcome another guest to our panel tonight. Dr. Ta'ana has joined us.
Yeah, seriously.
Oh, pretty kitty.
Yeah, I think that the series overall it's like TNG with a very big comedic spin, because TNG was always character driven more than anything else, which you can see through Picard as well.
Yeah.
So I very much love that aspect of it. But I think they had set that standard, right? Like even in the beginning with very first episode and any of the intros, it literally they come across a Borg, like a Borg attack, and they're like, no, and they're like, we're out. Like they're just like they're constantly in danger, and they go, later, bye. It's very it's perfect. It definitely set the tone, and they kind of kept it throughout. This episode was definitely the most surprising because it definitely was a turn for them, but it was a very welcome turn.
Yeah, definitely.
I love that one of the things that just impressed me so much about this entire season was the fact they managed to actually kind of thread that needle between it being TNG. This fits into the canon more or less, right? But it's still a comedy. It's still a sitcom. It's still a cartoon. It's still very like over the top. But it more or less actually, you could conceivably say that, this fits into the universe, the timeline, everything like that. This just happens to be one of the less successful crews, kind of.
Yeah.
And this is, but it still manages to function on both levels as sort of like comedy and as sci-fi drama that's part of a larger thing. And they managed to absolutely thread that needle, and I was so impressed by that.
Yeah, takes all kinds to make a Starfleet.
Exactly.
And I like the fact that, the question that they opened up in the very first episode, Second Contact, was we never really saw after First Contacts.
Yeah.
The follow-ups to having to fill out the paperwork, do all of that. And then you went full circle to this end episode, which is, okay, it's not just the second contact. Here's what happens. Mariner put it perfectly. She said, Starfleet is really great. The Federation is really great at making the first contact, but their follow-up sucks.
Yeah.
And it's true. I mean, you had the from the episode, the Archons, where they were worshiping Landru, and so obviously nobody had been monitoring this planet, because here they were how many years later, and they just fallen right back, which led me to a question, because if you remember that episode about the Archons, Kirk reasoned with that computer, so it self-destructed at the end of that episode. So who were they worshiping? Who was the new Landru? Where
put it back together?
I guess.
Yeah.
Because they missed him, so they put him back together.
Yep.
And then the pack. What were the name of the aliens that were sending out the distress call? The pack.
Packlids.
Yeah.
That there again, nobody was really paying attention or taking them seriously, and look what happened. I mean, they destroyed an entire starship, and so I like that circle back to even a more in-depth look at that question that they asked in that very first episode.
Yeah.
So one of my all-time favorite fan theories about season 1 of TNG, it's season 1 and 2, all the way up to when the Borg show up, is that everything weird about Starfleet in those first 2 seasons can be explained by the fact that Starfleet got real complacent and real lazy.
Yeah.
Right. So even the Galaxy class starship, which is their flagship, the Enterprise's sister ship, the Yamato, has a fatal flaw where it can be blown up by a 1,000,000-year-old computer virus. Right. And it just goes up. The entire thing just goes kafoom. The top command of Starfleet gets taken over by creepy crawly buggy things, with a talent for theater, worms, and all these things that happen, where it's just where are the adults? What is even happening? And then when the Borg show up, the fact that they managed to beat the Borg and then eventually get involved in the Dominion War, and they're really unprepared for it, and that adds to a lot of the drama. Wolf 359, which was an inside job. You look at that and you're like, this is devastating, even by the standards of you look at how powerful the Borg are. How are we this not prepared for that at that point? And you know, the story of TNG and DS9 and to some degree Voyager is kind of the story of Starfleet getting their boots back on. And sort of realizing like there's still problems out there. And so when Lower Decks goes and does that and flat out says it in its final episode, it's like, yeah, this is interesting. This is an interesting direction to go.
Didn't you love the ensign that ran down the corridor at the beginning that was talking about the conspiracy theory?
Yes.
Changes aren't real. Dominion War never happened.
Yeah, that's right.
Let me get a couple of comments. R.L. Gray, now that we've seen the infamous Spock helmet in universe, do you think there's any chance they'll release the real thing?
Oh, one can only hope.
What is he talking about?
The Spock helmet. Come on.
I don't know the Spock helmet. Wait, is that from Spock's brain?
No, it was a very, very silly piece of merchandise from like the mid 70s or something, where it was like, here's Spock's space helmet, which clearly was invented by somebody who'd never seen the program.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, like,
yeah,
it was pretty great.
Okay.
And Daniel says, I enjoyed the payoff of Mariner hiding contraband all over the ship. Her hiding stuff in an opening scene from one of the first episodes that you initially dismissed, but then reappears in tonight's episode. Which is exactly what we were talking about earlier about what a great amount of carry through there is in this one episode from all these things that we saw throughout.
Yeah, internal callbacks. Yeah,
totally. Yeah,
right.
Definitely.
It also establishes the rather surprising fact that there's ceiling tiles on this ship.
Yep.
Now, had you guys did they pre-establish the shuttle that Rutherford was fixing up, the Sequoia that featured in this episode? Has that been featured earlier? Because
I don't remember.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. But it played a big role in this story. I didn't know if it had come up earlier.
That the name Sequoia was kind of like hand scrawled on the side.
Yeah, it had like shark teeth on the front.
I think it was funny because I think Nathan and I we were talking about it, and he said, in the original, they were always named after scientists. And then in TNG, they were named after
like national parks,
like Yosemite and stuff like that. And then
DS9 with rivers.
Rivers. And I realized it's very, like, my theory being that it's very becoming of the personality of that show. So with the original, the mission was about exploring, and it was a science mission first and foremost. And then with TNG, it was much more about exploration. So the Great Wide Wilderness in the U.S., that sort of thing, Yosemite, Sequoia. And then with DS9, it was like it interweaved between lots of different places, and it was, unpredictable a lot of times. So I don't know. I don't know if that was on purpose.
And the wormhole is kind of like a river.
Name that. Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Well, it's on the frontier too. I think Rio Grande kind of connotes frontier. And TNG, like it was national parks, and there were a lot of them that were named after like astronauts too. Like I think a couple of the Challenger astronauts got there. On Azuka, I think maybe. Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, I totally agree that there's that. Yeah, I'd never noticed that before, and that's a really cool thing. Yeah.
All right, there's one very particular reference to past episodes that we were all hoping would make a return, and we haven't talked about it yet, and that's Badgie.
Badgie.
Yeah. Oh God.
Badgie.
Where is Wendy Darling? Why is she not chiming in with her Badgie love?
And I love the little reference to Independence Day with that whole little plot line.
Yeah.
It was very I just love that he's so clippy.
Yes.
And just repeating the same question over and over again. But how can I help you? It looks like you're trying to do this. Is this what you're trying to do?
My favorite part about the Badgie appearance was it when he deployed the virus and he was grunting as if he were dropping a deuce.
Yep.
Yes. I've always loved that voice actor too. I mean, he's always great.
Oh yes, he is. He's fantastic.
Yeah.
Who is it?
The guy from 30 Rock.
Yeah.
Jack McBrayer.
Oh, Jack McBrayer, right?
From 30 Rock. Yeah.
All right. So what do you want to see in season 2, whenever that may happen?
I kind of want to see the exocomp somehow reappear.
Yes.
Like,
Because it's
Peanut
still
Hammer.
floating out there.
and I just love it. Goes help.
I know.
I
love
literally, I love her. Like, peace out, I'm done. And then she's like, la 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 la, like just kind of floating off her face. Yeah.
Peanut Hamper. That's the
Yeah.
greatest name.
Peanut
I've
Hamper.
ever heard.
Hey, it's statistically perfect name.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Don't knock
Oh,
She may want to recheck that math.
it.
I totally love that she was just like, "You're gonna save the ship."
Like, nah.
Nah.
Yeah.
That sounds scary. I'm not gonna do it.
Which is totally what my reaction would be.
Eh.
So, any more desires for season 2? What do you want to see happen?
I would love for the big bad again to be another just like ridiculous callback. That, like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, those guys. Like, you know, who's the big bad at the end of season 2? It's the naked people from Justice. Like, you know, or whatever. Like, it's just ridiculousness. I want to see that. I love that stuff.
Right.
But taking that stuff seriously, or as seriously as this show will allow, I think, is finding, like, again, like we were talking about the consequences of the stuff that Starfleet didn't wrap up, and now like Lower Decks is dealing with it. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like for instance, we were just talking about those, you know, those worm guys who took over Starfleet. They said we'll be back, and then they've never featured again.
They'd better come back.
Yeah,
Really, this is
that's
the
a golden
show for them
opportunity.
to, my light just fell. This is the show for them to come back. They're going to come back, and that was
Oh,
them
yeah.
knocking off
Agreed.
my light off my thing. So whatever. We seek peaceful coexistence.
Yeah, not really though.
Exactly.
But it'll be interesting to see who comes in to replace Shax, because they'll have to replace the head of security.
Yeah.
So I'm
Grand
thinking
tradition
that
of Star
that's
Trek.
going to be interesting to see what new character they'll bring in, because I don't think that they'll promote anybody from within. That's a perfect opportunity for them to bring in a whole new character and add like a new dynamic to the group.
Yeah.
I
Right.
really thought that she was going to offer that position to Merrick
Mm.
at the end of
Yeah.
the episode.
Hmm.
It wouldn't make sense for her to jump that far up in rank like that, but that's where I thought that scene was heading.
Yeah.
So I was wrong.
Something that Star Trek likes to do a lot, with varying, but usually not much success, is time travel stories.
Mm.
But I don't think they didn't do any time travel stories this season. So
Right.
I think
They did
I
make
think
a
it
joke
would be
about
fun.
time travel stories at some point, didn't they?
It would be probably, but it would be it would be fun to see them try a time travel story next season.
Oh my gosh. What if they did
Which
like a
would-
time travel one back to the animated series?
That's what we were saying a few weeks ago.
Oh wow,
Totally.
So that would be cool.
And
Oh my god.
that would be cool.
It's the same filmation style on there.
Yeah.
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 Right.
But it's
Oh,
that
they
sort
could
of
nail that.
trouble
That
with
would be
trouble,
ideal.
trials and tribulations thing. Yeah, it'd be amazing.
That would be
Um,
amazing.
I'd love to see that. I'd love to see. I mean, if they did a time travel story and they just went back to, they always either go back to the present day or to some time that's interesting in history, usually. And to have them
Nope.
just go back to something random would be great.
I was like, nobody wants to go back to 2020. We're
No.
we're-
no, that would be kind of funny.
It would.
We're
Yeah.
in 20, where is
That would be
everybody?
fun.
Oh,
There's probably
we're-
a
yeah, what's going on?
Starfleet
Yeah.
directive to avoid 2020 at all costs.
Yeah. Hey, how come Khan isn't in charge of everything? Yeah, about that. Not going to answer.
yeah.
Right.
Well,
That-
the DS9 two-parter past tense
Yeah.
is set in 2024,
it's exactly
Yep.
what's happening now.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
and yeah, it's virtually. I mean, they were amazingly prescient with that episode.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Incredibly so. All right. So, any final thoughts since we are leaving Lower Decks behind? I kind of want to. I was talking to a friend of mine earlier today, and we were saying that we really enjoyed Lower Decks, but it may have seemed kind of inconsequential, like it didn't really add anything to the Star Trek universe. Like it was an entertaining place filler until Discovery comes along. But tonight, I feel completely different about that.
Oh, yeah.
Tonight's episode was such a great it wasn't just a great episode of this show; it was a great episode of Star Trek.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, not every series has to have the weight of the franchise on its shoulders.
That's very true, but I feel like all the heavy-handed continuity references was like made you feel like it's part of the continuity, but it didn't really. I don't know. But tonight, I thought it was like exactly right on. I thought it was a perfect episode.
And you know what's interesting to me about this time period is you remember after TNG came out, then all of a sudden it was like kind of a rebirth of Star Trek, and you had all of these series that were coming out afterwards. And then we fell back into like kind of a dead zone again a few years ago, even though the movies, now look at all of the stuff that's coming out. I mean, you've got Prodigy, you've got Prodigy, Discovery, Picard. Then you've got the what's the one that has the first captain of the Enterprise that was in Discovery?
The Captain Pike series.
The Captain Pike series, and then you've got and in honor of Vandy Beth with her black turtleneck, you've got the Section 31 series that's in development. So, I mean, it's like. No, shut your little window.
And then there's also the short treks. I mean, that's a whole new format.
And the short treks.
Those are, and so you've got this second rebirth going on that is just so exhilarating and exciting to us Star Trek fans that it's back. The movies didn't destroy everything.
Absolutely.
So
it's a good question. Either we will discover that in this new cut the cord reality of streaming services that the market can support all these series, or we'll discover that the market can't support all these series, and there's going to be another contraction again. But
it's interesting that this is happening right around the same time as Disney taking over Star Wars, and with their vow to have a new Star Wars movie every year. I mean, it's something we'd never had before, and it sort of backfired on them. And so far, it doesn't seem to be doing that with Trek. I hope that proves to be the case from this point on.
Wait, I have a question.
Okay.
What's Star Wars?
we'll talk offline.
Okay. Thanks.
All right, so I just want to wrap up here. This has been 10 episodes of us discussing Lower Decks, but starting next week.
Dun, dun.
I am so ready for Discovery to start. I'm so excited.
I got to finish the last season.
Yeah, who hasn't finished season 2?
We haven't yet. We need to get caught up.
God.
I'm working on it too.
Hurry up and watch it.
7 days, sweetheart. You got to get it done.
Yeah.
What the hell is wrong with you?
Right. So next week we'll be back Thursday night. We will have Elizabeth and Vandy Beth joining us again next week. We will also have R.L. Gray who will be joining us, Anthony Williams, and a first timer, Daniel Pierce.
Oh, great.
First episode
I know Daniel.
Excellent. Discovery. I'm so excited about Discovery. All right, so thank you all so much for hanging out tonight and discussing this great show. And I'm glad it was an episode that we all enjoyed and really brought the season home.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let me find my thingy.
Well, thanks for putting this together. I mean, this was your brainchild, and it's been fun.
So much fun. So much fun.
You can be found at OurTownDeKalb.com. Tell us what that is.
We are the premier community magazine, monthly magazine for Northeast DeKalb, covering Tucker, Embry Hills, Smoke Rise, and Northside. North Lake. North Lake. I can't even remember where we cover. It's a great magazine. We're available online. You can read it online, but we also mail to about 12,000 homes.
Very nice. Nathan and Lee.
Yes.
Pixel Who? Tell us a little bit about Pixel Who.
So we do, well, Nathan does, and I do the PR and managing pixelated artwork, where Nathan literally sits there and he goes ... to make all of the artwork that he does. So it takes weeks to months, depending on the piece. And we did artwork for the BBC for a couple of years. So all of his Doctor Who stuff is actually canon to the world. They wrote a whole script as to why, and an explanation. So we're part of the extended universe. And he, of course, has also done other fandoms. We have a TNG piece out now, and lots of other stuff. We're currently doing New York Comic Con virtual this weekend. And then, so that's kind of us. So we're on all the places as Pixel Who. And then I think on Twitter, we're Pixel Who Art because someone sat on our handle and wouldn't give it back to us.
I'll also mention that, she did mention that we were on the New York Comic Con's retailer page this year or this week. But also we have a special discount code up there. So if you want to go find that, it's our biggest sale ever.
Yep.
Nice.
Excellent.
Prices so low, they're insane.
Yeah. And actually, I'm actually going to be doing a show on October 24th called Melanin Stories Matter, where I'm going to be talking about what it's like to be a nurse during the pandemic as a person of color, kind of seeing all this stuff happening. So
wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. Andy, I know at some point I had a banner for you and I don't have it here. So tell everybody where you can be found.
I can be found on YouTube at Sycorax Rock, which is, I do a lot of silly Doctor Who songs and I do the epic rap battles of Whostory. And I actually just started doing Trek battles too. So there's a Khan versus General Chang battle up there now. You should totally check it out. And that's one project I'm doing. I'm also, and I can announce this right now because this is actually official, coming very, very soon. I'm actually launching 2 podcasts because I hate myself, apparently. One of which is called Perception Filter, and it is a look at random episodes of Doctor Who with my friend Kathleen Showalter, where we're looking at it from almost kind of like a film studies perspective and like looking at the visuals and what it's saying to, like, from a thematic standpoint, rather than just like, oh, I liked it when this happened in the story. Like, we're talking about what's the color grading on this green creature being, kind of thing. And where does this come from in culture that would like influence this? I'm doing that. I'm also doing a thing called Slarty Bartcast with my friend Jason. This is Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, one chapter at a time. So that's coming up very, very soon. And I'll let everybody know when that happens. So
very cool.
Yeah.
And then, Beth, you have a short film that now has an IMDb listing.
We're finally that legit. We have an IMDb listing, and I'm working on my next movie. But the big news that I have this week is something I've been meaning to come clean about for all these weeks now. Alan is secretly my father. I don't want any of you to treat me differently now that you know that.
No.
I thought we were going to keep it under.
I'm going to be just the same old Vandy Beth I've always been.
Can I give you something to give to him? Because I really think he would like some of my ideas.
We'll talk
Put it in a
offline.
box, otherwise we'll know it's a bat left.
We'll talk offline. I've
Very
said too
nice.
much.
Oh, that's funny. Before we go, this is a little PS. There was one more reference in tonight's episode that I loved that I forgot to mention. In Discovery Season 2, there was a character that showed up in 4 or 5 episodes, a big lizardy kind of guy named Linus. A member of his race was on the bridge of the ship that got blown up at the beginning.
Solvang.
Thank you. And I thought that was really neat.
Huh.
Yeah. Is that the only Discovery reference they've made?
So far, yeah. I think so.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
I like
now
it.
that completes the art. They've referenced everything, movies and all the series.
Yep.
Wow.
They're literally like, we are squarely canon right now.
Yeah.
We're right in the middle of it. Yeah.
All right. So thank you all very much for hanging out with me tonight and talking about this fantastic show. We will be back next week for the first episode of Star Trek Discovery Season 3. Until then, have a great week. Be safe, be well, take care of each other, and we are out of here. So see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.